Isaiah 32 operates on multiple frequencies at once. What begins as a localized 8th century BC geopolitical crisis maps out a global timeline of judgment and the expansion of the covenant. To understand these layers, we must start in ancient Judah in the 8th century BC. This immediate historical setting anchors the prophet's warnings before the timeline expands. Isaiah utilizes a framework known as prophetic telescoping. This occurs when a prophet views multiple chronologically distant events as if they are stacked together, compressing them into a single, unified vision. We can map this chapter across 3 major chronological nodes. The immediate threat is the Assyrian crisis between 715 and 701 BC. Then the timeline reaches the Babylonian fall of Judah in 586 BC. Finally, the vision pushes forward to the 1st century AD, spanning the era of the early church to the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 1 states, "Behold, a king shall reign in righteousness, and princes shall rule in judgment." From the perspective of the original Jewish audience in 740 BC, this archetypal righteous king is King Hezekiah. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 2 states, "And a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land." When the Assyrian army swept through the region, Hezekiah literally stood in the gap. He spared Jerusalem from the tempest of a military siege, providing a physical refuge for his people. Because of his leadership, Jerusalem became an oasis of peace amidst regional destruction, echoing the theological concept of Zion as an impenetrable place of safety. True righteous leadership serves 2 functions simultaneously. It acts as a literal shield against geopolitical collapse, and it provides a spiritual anchor for the nation. But Hezekiah's protective archetype sits in stark contrast to the destructive model of leadership festering within Judah's own borders. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 6 states, "For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail." The text defines these vile or churlish rulers as systemic hypocrites. They possess high status and project an image of honor while actively uttering error against the Lord. Through misguiding teachings and bad examples, they rob the populace of their spirituality, emptying the souls of those seeking truth. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 7 states, "The instruments also of the churl are evil. He devises wicked devices to destroy the poor with lying words, even when the needy speaketh right." These officials weaponize their judicial and political offices. They construct legal traps and devise wicked devices specifically aimed at the most vulnerable citizens. Their method relies on perjury and legal manipulation. They strip the needy of their property and rights, ignoring justice even when the poor present a factually correct case. External walls are useless if the interior rots. A nation's survival depends on the integrity of its justice system just as much as its military defenses. Isaiah then pivots away from the corrupt magistrates and directs his focus downward to the citizenry, specifically targeting the societal elite of ancient Jerusalem. The prophet issues an impending warning directly to those who possess wealth, comfort, and social status. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 9 states, "Rise up, ye women that are at ease. Hear my voice, ye careless daughters. Give ear unto my speech." Being at ease in Zion represents deep spiritual apathy. The comfort provided by material wealth has bred a careless attitude towards keeping divine commandments. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 10 states, "Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women, for the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come." The original Hebrew phrase, translated as "many days and years," mathematically translates to a specific duration, a year and some days. This duration maps to the historical reality of the brutal Assyrian invasion under King Sennacherib. The invading forces systematically burned the outer agricultural lands, causing the vintage to fail for exactly that time frame. Material prosperity breeds a false sense of security, directly blinding a society to imminent temporal judgment. Here, the text employs prophetic telescoping again. What begins as a one-year disruption expands into a vision of total societal collapse. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 13 states, "Upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city." The localized Assyrian devastation acts as a down payment or warning shot for a much larger ultimate destruction of the land. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 14 states, "Because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, a joy of wild asses, a pasture of flocks." The first major macro-fulfillment of this desolation occurs with the Babylonian deportation of 587 BC, an event that left the city entirely empty. The second and ultimate macro-fulfillment arrives centuries later with the devastating Roman destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. These events share a terrifying physical reality. A once vibrant landscape is completely devoid of its inhabitants and returned to nature. The towering stone palaces and defensive forts are left to crumble into dust, overtaken by sprawling thorns, and inhabited only by grazing flocks. The transition from immediate devastation to total desolation highlights how a society's spiritual resilience often dissipates within 2 generations when prosperity replaces the urgency of crisis. Divine warnings are fractal. Ignoring a localized, temporary crisis virtually guarantees a subsequent total national desolation. The prophecy then jumps across the centuries to the ultimate chronological node in the 1st century AD, detailing a massive shift in covenantal status. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 15 states, "Until the Spirit be poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field be counted for a forest." This introduces an allegorical grand reversal. The Jewish nation, having rejected the Messiah, is demoted from its status as a fruitful field to a barren forest. In a corresponding reversal, the Gentile world, previously considered a spiritual wilderness, receives the gospel message and blossoms into the new fruitful field. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 19 states, "When it shall hail coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place." This judgment of hail directly connects to the ultimate physical destruction executed by the Roman Empire. In 70 AD, the physical city of Jerusalem was literally laid flat to the ground, fulfilling the exact phrasing of the prophecy. The geographical imagery of Judah illustrates a broader covenantal reality. The privileges of the Spirit are revoked when the source of that Spirit is rejected. The chapter concludes by focusing on the precise mechanism that distributed this new global covenant into the Gentile wilderness. Isaiah chapter 32, verse 20 states, "Blessed are ye that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the ass." Historically, these sowers are the early Christian apostles, stepping out of their localized borders to take the gospel into the vast first-century Gentile world. Isaiah identifies these sowers as those who send forth the feet of the ox and the ass. In the context of the early church, this imagery aligns with the apostles, laborers who lacked the status of the religious elite, yet were tasked with planting the gospel across the world. This humble, grounded apostolic effort stands in direct opposition to the arrogant, churlish leadership detailed at the beginning of the chapter. These humble messengers successfully converted the barren wilderness of the Gentiles, proving the ultimate power of the poured-out Spirit over any political maneuvering. The scope of Isaiah 32 extends past the survival of an ancient siege to the humble global expansion of a covenant that outlasts the empires of Rome and Assyria. This concludes our overview of Isaiah chapter